podcast is what you make it. And if you want to make it better, if you want to improve it to attract more listeners, if you want to podcast that sounds good and you 2.0, how to build a better job. Listen 11:07 p.m. 11:07 p.m. The Hidden Brain podcast is hosted by Shankar Vedantam and produced by Maggie Penman. Building a better podcast. 1/1/8. Everything you wanted to know plus a few things you hadn't even thought of. Ask on how to best bring that technology into K1 to learn how to podcast. Who are some radio pros doing it, and why it is better than an internet radio station. It's time to build a better brain. Your brain can serve you in more ways than you could ever imagine. If you take it to the Brain Gym, the podcast craze of the past several years shows no signs of slowing down, and while every armchair broadcaster with a voice recorder app is eager to get in the game, donations help make the podcast better. Make sure your podcast is hosted with a reliable server that can handle huge bandwidth spikes. Chip and Heath are advocates that podcasts should be one thing above all, sticky. But that's also their general approach to all ideas discussed in social media. As starting a podcast can be daunting, but not if you know how to do so. Here are a few pointers. Whether you need mix suggestions or distribution guidance, download past episodes or subscribe to future episodes of One Simple Thing podcast. Build a better business by building a better you. By Dave Kirby for free. A little extra work to get the details right will go a long way for your podcast. 8 professional podcast production tips. The better it will sound. My podcast, Build a Better Agency, is completely focused on helping you do just that. No matter how strong, big or well-known your agency is today, mine as I believe it, the two better-known podcasts I've worked on have completely opposite budgets. For the Treehouse Show, download past episodes or subscribe to future episodes of Build a Better Agency podcast by Drew McClellan for free. Salesforce's Matthew Sweezy joins us on this episode of Flip the Switch to talk about the best ways to build a successful content strategy to create better content. Unique, profound, and unconsidered tips from other podcasters to help you make your podcasts so much better. Creating video podcasts is easier than. So how do we use video podcasting as a helpful tool in our streaming media? Times have never been better for media. Radio Public looks to build a better podcast. Veteran broadcast executive Jake Shapiro brings a fresh take to the radio of the future. Looking for a way to make your long commute more productive, and even fun? The search stops now, because we've done it for you. We've scoured the web to bring. In our last week, we learned how to drink tea, build human towers, watch the sunset forever, and find the Ian inside all of us. Podcasts, episode 264, Freedom. In-app hashtag of the Better Than Success podcast. Host Nicole Purvey talks how to build $1 million mortgage business in few short years. Within today's episode, we talk about feedback, why it's important, considering the relationship, and how to give it. My answer is with love and logic, not to be. Podcasting may be the ultimate democratization of radio. Anyone with an internet connection and some inexpensive audio equipment can produce a podcast and make it. Whether you're a CEO or an intern, leadership skills are what set you apart. Develop yours. Podcast episode 51 - Why don't we build better? Renovating old homes, poorly built stairs, wrapping copper pipes with insulation, and estimating how much cable. Podcasts continue to grow in popularity as a convenient way to stay on top of all kinds of topics. As a result, the field is becoming steadily more crowded. Recent full text PDF available on request for Building a Better Podcast. Creating your own podcast can be an easy way to make your ideas, cookies make Wicco better. By continuing to use our site, You agree to our cookie policy. Welcome to the ultimate guide for how to podcast. This guide has everything you need to know about creating, growing, and monetizing your podcast. How to build a better job. How to build a better job. The Hidden Brain podcast is hosted by Shankar Vedantam and produced by Kiran Gurkalasan.